Hello, this is Mr. Red Fox. Now, it's been a while since I've done one of these videos, but it's about time. Starfield, as we all know, is coming out with its, how can I put this? Its Shattered Space DLC, which is going to renew interest in the game, but it's not really going to make anything better, in my honest opinion. So, without much ado, this is going to be a video where we are going to do a thought experiment where we'll be basically going over elaborating on an idea that I had. What if there was a better Starfield? Um, so in this video I'll be going over this visual essay. I'll be going over what if there was a better Starfield. A Starfield that had a better constructed story and a better constructed opening and overarching plot. Discarding that which doesn't work, keeping what does, and expanding upon what could have worked with just minor tweaking. So without much ado, let's get to it after the cut. So, as the title placard says of this segment, from the start, Bethesda's already kind of fucking up in this game with, calling your main character the Starborn, which is just fucking stupid. So let's fix this, okay? Keep the idea of an artifact that essentially enables you to go into alternate realities and all that type of cool shit. That's an interesting concept. Not great, interesting. But instead of your character being essentially just some random person who has gained access to this artifact, instead, the central conceit of the game should be you are a person from an alternate reality that has been lost in this one. Lost in this reality. You have no idea what the hell happened. You have no idea how you got there. And basically, when you touch the artifact, you're beginning to get an inkling of a past reality that you were once in. So essentially, your character is unmoored in different realities. Now, this is kind of riffing off of a TV show that happened back in the day called Sliders. That was about this guy who basically created a device that let him open holes to different alternate realities. And he would slide from one reality to another, each different reality. Hence the name Sliders. All right. So, essentially enabling you to do something a little bit more in-depth than the lazy-ass shit we had in Starfield. So the central conceit of the main story would be your character essentially coming to the realization that these different realities can't exist at the same in the same spot. As a matter of fact, these different realities are essentially eating each other. It's the reason why when you go to different planets in the game, you see ruins where the gravity has been reversed, or planets with like strange biomes that shouldn't be scientifically possible. And that if this continues, if this artifact is fully assembled, it has the potential to be used to basically wipe out this reality and therefore killing every living thing in that reality and subverting it, subsuming it into something else. That's a more interesting story than, you're just exploring shit. Yeah. That's my own personal opinion. You could agree or disagree. But we'll get to factions after the cut. So the factions in Starfield are underwhelming to say the best. The Bounty Hunters Union, which initially you couldn't even join. Um, sorry, the Trackers Union, which initially you couldn't join. They'd basically talk to you about it. You could talk to a tracker about, hey, I have a bounty on me, if that was one of your little pre-made character traits. You've got a bounty on your ass. You could have that removed by talking to a tracker union, but it really had no other bearing in the game. Now they've added tracker things where basically you can go and either kill bounties or restrain them and bring them in for money, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. Um, you basically had your quote unquote Thieves Guild quest where you join corporate espionage group, and like most of the factions in this game, it's like it's a good concept, poorly executed. So I would overhaul factions. Basically, the factions, what you do, like your ranking in a faction, what you do to help a faction, basically will in turn um, determine how people treat you. So, for example, if you do the corporate faction quest and become like a junior executive at the corporate faction and go through that entire storyline, like you basically can like buy shit cheaper. You can buy stocks and sell stocks and get, a commission. And then you can do little missions and shit. Now they kind of have that where you can go back and do little missions where you do corporate espionage and raid certain places in order to get data, which you can then use at Zerodyne or whatever the fuck the place is called, Industries, and it's like, this is interesting, but not well executed. I'm telling you how to really make it well executed, how to really do some interesting things with this. One of the more interesting factions in the game is the Terramorph factional quest, where you discover where Terramorphs actually come from. It's like, oh, that's actually interesting. Heat leeches are a way worse concern than you might have thought. Oh, these things are vermin. They're worse than vermin. And it's like, oh, this is kind of an interesting concept. I like this. They don't do shit with it, but it's an interesting concept. It's like, oh, okay. So here's my idea. Um, the Terramorph quest line with all that type of stuff is actually pretty cool. Where you join the Vanguard, the UC Alliance Vanguard. That's actually a pretty cool quest. So I'll leave that alone. Um, the Space Rangers, where you join the Freestar Space Rangers. It's like, wow, you're basically a space cowboy. Cool premise, poorly executed. Poorly executed. You do get to see the guy who did the voice for Sheogarath and the voice for the guards in Oblivion. The Imperial Guards who were like, no one does this on my watch. That guy is the main villain of that one. But kind of like anything you do, like you have the end quest, the end goal of that quest is binary. If you turn the guy in, the entire border town he created, industrial town he created, basically goes tits up. Or you can let him go, and people keep their jobs, but you let a murderer and real piece of shit get away with it. I would basically have a couple of other options where you essentially get his right hand person to take over the company, and he still goes to jail. And then another one where he just goes to jail and the company's shut down, but a new company comes and takes over that place. you can't have binary in an RPG of that level. You can't have binary just two ending quests, or three if you really put the work in. That's not smart quest design. Which, to be fair, Bethesda hasn't had a good quest design in a very long time in their games. Like, none of them really. Maybe Oblivion. No, 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 not really Oblivion. Morrowind. Yeah, Morrowind had decent quest design. Um, but enough about that. Let's move on to the next topic. One of the major issues with this game, Starfield, is that the companions aren't great. Basically, companions are kind of static, and they have their opinions, and they're stuck with those stances. And basically, anything that goes against what they like, they're just gonna get mad and leave you. It's not really well done. It could be a lot better. So here's my idea for better companions in Starfield. I would mimic what Obsidian did with Knights of the Old Republic 2, where basically, if you talked with your companions enough, you could turn them, like, if a character was all light side, you could turn them to be a little bit more gray. And if a character was dark side, you could turn them to be a little bit more, you know, less dark side. And if a character was gray, you could shift them either direction. It kind of depended on how they, how your ability to talk to your companions was. Now, that game was made by a development studio with, you know, Obsidian, which I would say Obsidian makes better RPGs than Bethesda. So, the RPG is more at the forefront of things. So my idea would be to make a oh shit. My my the way I would basically do that, make it is I would essentially have it so that you could talk to your companions and basically change up how they feel about certain things, how they're going to treat you about certain things, depending on what your reputation is, how they feel about you. I think that could lead to a better gameplay experience. Also, companions just are kind of stupid in the game. They aren't smart. You should be able to basically, you know, like, how is it that we basically were able to have better companions back in the day on the SNES? And on the SNES, Secret of Mana, you basically could go into the action ring and go into companion AI and basically make your companions more defensive or more offensive. And yet now, like, companions are just like dumb. They run into things. If you're trying to be stealthy, they make noise. It's like, my God, you're trash. You're fucking trash. Be better. But enough about that. Let's move on to the final bit of this topic, which is mechanical things that they really need to add to this game in the next segment. One of the big issues with Starfield is that the gameplay mechanics are fundamentally flawed. They're fundamentally broken. I would overhaul that. For example, I would add vehicles. Does it make sense for you to travel a planet and not have vehicles? Especially when you fucking have vehicles just hovering around on the surface of planets. And they're like, oh, well, you have a jetpack. That's good enough. No, no, no. That's not good enough. That really is not fucking good enough. You fucking morons. All right. That's what the shit feels like. It's like, oh, you don't know how to make a game. Um, so I would add vehicles. I would have beyond just like your spaceship, which is a vehicle. Your spaceship, it's a vehicle, but your spaceship is for planetary voyages, like extra planar, extra solar voyages. It's not really like to get around. I think they should add maybe hovercraft. You know, that way you could basically, I don't need something with wheels. A hovercraft will work. A hovercraft will do. It doesn't make sense. This civilization has spaceships and jetpacks, but they don't have hovercraft. Or terraforming. There's some problems. There's some problems with this series. There's some. I got a few problems. Just a touch. Just a few problems. So I think that melee weapons need to be overhauled to actually be useful if you're playing a melee build. I think that the shipbuilding is pretty interesting, but like you can't really do much with it aside from vanity projects. It's like, yeah, I made the Millennium Falcon, I made an X-wing, I made the Starship Enterprise. Cool. Okay, that's awesome, but what else can you do? See the problem? See the issue there? That's my problem. There's the issue. So those are just my thoughts. I'll get to the miscellaneous little peccadillos I have with the game after the cut. So here we go with the final bit of this video before we get to the wrap-up, which is my own miscellaneous meanderings. It's not cool that there's like no radio stations in the game. Like, we know for a fact that radio waves have been blasted out into space from Earth. And it would make sense that if humanity left Earth and went to other solar systems, that they would have their own radio stations and blasting that shit out into space. So it's just kind of weird that you have a game where there's no radio stations. That's just fucking dumb. That's dumb. Now, we know what the real reason they don't have radio stations, because Bethesda couldn't be bothered to actually get music rights for music. They were like, oh man, we can skip out on doing shit in this game. And, and I'm not going to begrudge them cutting corners and saving a little bit of money, but goddamn, dude. But with that being said, we're getting to the wrap-up section. So, if you guys have any thoughts or ideas about where you would like to, what you would think could be added to Starfield to make it better, leave it in the comment section. Give me your thoughts and ideas, and etc., etc. Now, I will be having a podcast as per usual every Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. to 8:30 or 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you would like to be a part of that cast, watching it, or be a member, a podcast guest, let me know. You can reach me via Discord or Gmail. The links are in the description. So with that being said, peace, good night, and have a good day.
Any progress on that matter we discussed? Wonderful. This is fantastic. Well worth all the sacrifices I... Wait. What the fuck is this? Is this French? I can't fucking read French. It's a law-forsaken joke is what it is. French. Ha! I was so high and mighty, preaching to the yokels about following the plan, while fighting it at every turn. There is little more important than such a precious, rare text. I've spent my life searching for the keys to unlocking the secrets of the universal equation that underlies the plan. I had hoped this book held some of those answers. I became so desperate, I even got myself assigned to this plague-ridden backwater to find the damn thing. All the time and suffering I've spent. Wasted. Bakonu, the author, had some interesting theories about man's perception of reality that I thought could be applied to our attempts to decipher the plan. Unfortunately, he was also one of the founders of the Philosophist school of thought, so the book is banned in this colony. Philosophism's a false religion that stands in contradiction to almost everything we know to be true. They believe all is chaos, in stark contrast to OSI's belief in the plan. But most of the philosophist perversion of Bakonu's thoughts came more than a century after his death. The story of my life. Most laypeople are not aware of this, but we've not discovered any new insights into the plan for a long, long time. I had an idea that we should welcome the truth, no matter where we found it. I had the worse idea to share my thoughts with a superior. And that's how I ended up assigned prison duty, where I was fool enough to let an inmate bend my ear with stories of an original Bakonu journal. But that's neither here nor there. What I need to do now is to find a translator, obviously. But to do that, I'll first need to secure transport. You have a ship. Perhaps I could make myself of use to your crew. Certainly. I already gave you most of my money, but I can offer you free spiritual counseling, and I'd be happy to watch your back. I'm pretty handy with a tossball stick, or any blunt instrument really. I'm also a passable gun hand if it comes to that. I can usually talk my way out of conflict, though. Oh, I'm fairly competent at hacking computers as well. Well, understanding computers is fantastic.
Edgewater's gonna miss you.
Thank you, Ms. Holcomb. I shall see you...
Work fortifies the spirit. Huh? Had your rations yet?
Yep. 2 whole pieces of Alpina.
Oh, I almost forgot. You tried the best, now... Coming right up.
If I'd been able to get out here, I so would have stripped this for parts.